Independence, Art of Haiti. The island of Haiti, land of high mountains, was once home to about 1.5 million Tainos Indians, whose ancestors came from South America. Living in thatched roof huts around a central plaza, they farmed, fished, and hunted. 5 tribal caciques, chiefs, ruled 5 kingdoms. In 1492, Christopher Columbus claimed the island for the Spanish, who later named it Hispaniola. The Tainos welcomed the Europeans, bringing them bread, fish, parrots, gold, and cotton. Columbus noted that the natives were submissive and would be easy to enslave. Spaniards began pillaging villages and killing or capturing the Tainos who resisted. The Europeans believed it was their divine right to seize Indian land and enslave natives. By 1503, most natives had died from harsh labor in gold mines or diseases contracted from the Spanish. Some Tainos escaped to the mountains where they vowed to live free or die. With feet and arms bound, Africans were imported to replace the Indian workforce. Treated like livestock, slaves were required to work without ceasing. They revolted in 1522, but were quickly suppressed. By the early 1600s, French and British settlers began to occupy western Hispaniola. By 1697, Spain ceded the western third of the island to the French, which they named Saint-Domingue. French settlers began cultivating sugar, tobacco, indigo, coffee, and cotton. With 6,000 plantations by 1789, Saint-Domingue became France's most lucrative colony, producing more sugar and coffee than any other colony in the Americas. Sugar refineries required more and more labor. As many as 1 million Africans were brought to Saint-Domingue. The Code Noir, decreed by French King Louis XIV, required that slaves be kept together with their spouses, be provided with adequate food and clothing, and not be killed or tortured. All slaves were to be baptized Catholic and given Christian names. In practice, the Code Noir was not enforced, and masters occasionally tortured or mutilated slaves. Most slaves were ill-fed and worked 18 to 20 hours a day. As plantations accumulated great wealth, harsh conditions killed 1/3 to 1/2 of imported slaves within a few years. From 1751 to 1758, a slave conspiracy was led by Macandal, a maroon slave who had lost his hand in a sugar mill. The Vodou priests conspired with slaves to poison their masters' households. The rebel leader was captured and burned at the stake, but he inspired slaves to believe in their own freedom. Slave leaders gathered August 14, 1791, in Bois Caiman with Vodou priest Judy Boukman and priestess Cécile Fatiman. They took a blood oath to revolt and break the bonds of slavery. Boukman spoke of the Vodou warrior god, Ogu, who would direct our arms and stand beside us. Listen to the voice of freedom rising in your heart. Africans and mulattoes, both slave and free, were united by their shared belief that Ogu and the spirits of their African ancestors would aid them in battle. Upon a given signal, plantations would be set aflame, beginning the rebellion. Courageous and determined, the rebels fought white planters and French soldiers. Relentless, the rebels marched against cannons and guns, but prevailed. As the blacks rebelled, British and Spanish armies invaded Saint-Domingue, fighting for control of the island. Some colonists fought with the British. Some colonists fought with the Spanish. French Commissioner Sonthonax issued the General Emancipation Decree, abolishing slavery. Next, the French Convention officially abolished slavery in France and all its territories. In support of the French, Toussaint Louverture declared to the blacks, "I want liberty and equality to reign in Saint-Domingue. I am working to make that happen. Unite yourself to us, brothers, and fight with us for the same cause." Trained in military warfare by Louverture, the Black Army became an unstoppable force against the Spanish and British armies. After months of battle, the Spanish withdrew from Haiti in 1795. The British surrendered in 1798 and left Saint-Domingue. Louverture took possession of Santo Domingo in 1801. Louverture declared himself Governor-General of the entire island of Hispaniola. He adopted a new constitution. It stated that people born in the colony were to be equal, free, and citizens of France. But he also required freed slaves to continue working on plantations, receiving a share of crops they produced. In France, Napoleon Bonaparte declared himself consul for life, destroying the anti-slavery democratic government. He instructed General Victor Emmanuel Leclerc to remove Louverture and his generals from the island, disarm all blacks and mulattoes, and force them back onto plantations. Rejecting Napoleon's demand to surrender, Louverture fought Leclerc's massive army and fleet for 3 months. During a ceasefire, Louverture was tricked and imprisoned. When Leclerc ordered black soldiers and their families massacred, black laborers, mulattoes, maroons, and black soldiers united to rid the island of the French once and for all. The rebels, led by General Jean-Jacques Dessalines, captured one town after another. French General Rochambeau led the defense of the last French stronghold, Le Cap. Before taking Le Cap, Dessalines and his 15,000 soldiers would have to take Fort Vertières, which controlled the road into the port city. General François Capois led the first perilous attack up the Charrier Hill, which overlooked the fort. General Gabart secured the hill and fired into the fort until the French retreated into Le Cap. On November 18, 1803, at the cost of 1,200 fatalities and 2,000 casualties, the rebels took Le Cap. The next day, Rochambeau surrendered to Dessalines. On January 1, 1804, at Ganives, Governor-General Dessalines and his generals signed the Act of Independence of Haiti. It established the first free black state of former slaves who overthrew their colonial masters in battle and seized their own liberty.